album, Suicide and Sunshine, comes out on the 23rd via Hopeless Records. Can you give listeners a quick overview of the album and the story behind it?
Yeah, it's a combination of everything that Trophy Eyes has done, every sound that we've explored, and kind of mixed up into one cohesive sound, which we're all really proud of. And I guess the meaning behind the album is the concept is the subject of life, but the phenomenon of life, not really like in a personal sense. And, how unlikely it is, how small it is on the scale of the universe, and how, we as humans navigate time and life, and, ultimately always working and striving towards our ultimate end. But how beautiful that is, and how we still, have love and heartbreak and little successes and failures and all the things that make up a life, and how beautiful that is.
And you included a lot of your personal story behind the lyrics and your life struggles. What made you want to share these moments with your fans?
It's kind of what I've always done. I have this, I don't know, this on my own personal, I don't know, thing where, if I'm going to be playing this kind of music that's high energy and emotionally driven, and where, I'm standing up and screaming and shit like that, like it's kind of crazy. And I don't really think I could do that about, going to the movies or a story that didn't really happen. So I always just try and, I always just focus on something that's happened to me, something that I've lived or experienced. And and I guess that's how I kind of keep it emotionally driven. And yeah.
And do you find including your life struggles in your lyrics helps you overcome those mental challenges?
You know what? I guess so. Subconsciously, like if you write it down and you rewrite it, something that might have been, say, traumatic for you or whatever, I think subconsciously it does become therapeutic, because you kind of go through it, and you've got to make a story out of this thing that happened, and then you've got to make it rhyme as well, which is ridiculous. And then I think after kind of repeating that process over and over and over again, and then performing it live a million times, you do overcome whatever those personal issues are that you're writing about, because I guess you just kind of become used to it. You kind of come to terms with it. It's not something that I do intentionally, but I think it's a byproduct of the process for sure.
Beautiful. So your artwork, it's a little bit different. Would you be able to explain that, how you came up with your album image?
Yeah. So I wanted it to be, I wanted it to look like a snapshot of kind of like a meaningless moment in somebody's life. Just like, I think that what I get from the cover is that someone's out for a night. This person is, it might be, they might be drinking. It might just be like walking to the store. It could be something. And we just captured a tiny moment of that person's life where they're spinning their head. It looks like motion. It looks fast. It's kind of distorted. It's hard to pick. And I don't know. It's kind of like if your life was speeding by and you put your finger on 1 millisecond moment. That's what I really wanted to capture. Just a mundane, otherwise meaningless moment in somebody's life. But I wanted to highlight that, because that's kind of what the record is about those moments that make up a life.
Yes, definitely. Beautiful. And this will be a full studio album. Any celebrations or anything exciting happening?
Any celebrations? Well, we're going on tour. in Perth, Adelaide, Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne, which I'll definitely be celebrating at. But I don't know. We all live in different cities now. I live in Melbourne, Blake's in Sydney, Josh is in Sydney, and Jeremy's in Newcastle. So
Newcastle represent.
yeah, so it's a tricky one. I think you know what? I might bring that up. I might hit the band chat and say we should party.
Yes, definitely.
Actually, I think we'll be on tour, so I'm sure we'll make something work. Yeah.
Well, next year you're coming up on 10 years, so I think that deserves a celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was this year, right? So we did 2013 was when we
first. Yeah, so your first album 2013, you're signed by Hopeless 2014.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So it's been 10 years. I think we might have a big party at the end of the year. We might do something special for fans. I'm not sure.
Maybe you guys should come back to Newcastle.
I think so. We would have loved to have played the last Cambridge show, but I don't think it worked out, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, there'll definitely be some venues that'll be happy to take you, I'm sure.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
So over the past 10 years as a signed artist, what's your biggest career highlights personally?
It changes all the time, because like when we first started, all I wanted to do was play, I think it's called The Loft in Newcastle.
Yes. Yeah. That's been shut down a long time now.
Yeah. So when we first started as a band, I think I went and saw Endless Heights play The Loft. Yeah. And I was like, oh man, this is so cool. Like I was enamored. I loved Endless Heights, and I just going to these smaller shows was just, the energy was different. It wasn't like going to see, a bigger heavy band or just a bigger band in general. It was different. And it was like a display of art, because like a lot of these small shows, people weren't even jumping around. They're just standing there watching. And this person was just on display, like going, here's the song. And they had to perform it with like people that didn't know them. It was such an odd feeling. And I was like so excited. So when I saw them, I was like, God, if we just played The Loft, I would die happy. We just experienced that. And then all of a sudden it was, we played Soundwave, which was like the year after. And I was like, wow, okay, like I didn't expect that. And then from there, you kind of like, oh, I'd love to play Warped Tour. And then it was touring Europe. And so it always changes. And I don't know what my, what biggest accomplishment was. I feel like the most I ever got out of an experience like that was hearing Trophy Eyes for the first time on Triple J on the radio. And we were parked out in Clarencetown in our cars, and we went to a fish and chip shop, and we were eating fish and chips with all the doors open, and it was a warm spring night, I think. And we heard Trophy Eyes from the first EP played on Short Fast Loud on Triple J. And I think that's probably going from what it did for me, like emotionally wise, I think that was probably my biggest accomplishment. That's what I'm most proud of.
That's absolutely huge. I would have cried, honestly, hearing myself on the radio for the first time.
There were definitely some tears, because it's just, you'd never think, like, I think it's not so hard to be played on Triple J anymore, because they're always actively looking for just fresh artists. And it was kind of before marketing your band on social media went crazy. Like it was at the beginning of that, but it wasn't what it is today. So to have that was just such a huge thing, because no one our size was being played. No one as young as us was being played on the radio, and I mean, as a band. So yeah, it was mind blowing. We were definitely very emotional.
And your genre was very little at that time in the music scene too. So it's huge accomplishment to break through.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you mentioned your tour coming up. What drives your touring? Like, how do you cope with what can be a tedious journey?
I think you've got to do one day at a time. If you look at the big picture, it's daunting. If you're in the US and you've got a 32-day tour, and you do 3 days and you're like, okay, I've got 29 days left. And by the third day, you're already worn out because you've been partying, you've been drinking, and you're not sleeping a lot. And you look at the rest of the tour there, like in a physical way, and you just go, oh shit. Like, so you're going to take it day by day, focus on the little things, focus on doing a good show, having a good time. I always try and eat somewhere new, or like get recommendations from locals of where to eat or where to drink.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food? It's got to be Italian food because, I'm Italian, but like, yeah, it's a tricky one. It's definitely Italian food. Pasta for sure. Pasta.
Can never go wrong with pasta.
Sorry?
Can never go wrong with pasta.
That's right. Yeah, 100%.
So, based around your album, it touches on a lot of things that people wouldn't want to generally talk about. How do you start that conversation with someone? Like, do you feel like you're someone that somebody could come to and release their emotional thoughts to, or?
No, I don't. Like, I feel like people, and not to say that in like, with any attitude or negativity, but the subjects that I write about, I kind of, when I'm there, I put away the idea that people will hear this shit and that they're going to attribute these things I'm writing about to me, and they're going to form an opinion of me. And there's people in my life that these songs are about, or that know me personally, and that hear this stuff, and they're like, they're going to have to hear that. But when I'm writing, I put all that away to make sure that I just no holds barred. Like, I leave no stone unturned, don't hold back anything, and just write exactly what that thing is that I'm writing. But I don't even talk about that stuff to my girlfriend or to my friends or to my family. Like, and I know it would be easy to say like, oh, this guy's singing about this. I'll walk right up to him and be like, hi, I have depression. And like, to me, that would be that's in, I'm not equipped to talk to people about that. I'm still figuring my own shit out. I'm in no way, shape, or form a self-help book. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to navigate my own shit. I'm just singing about how shitty of a person I am. You know what I mean? Like, so I think, yeah. But I will accommodate all the time. Like, people come up to me and say, hey, your music made me feel like this, and I want to talk about it. And every time I'll give that person the time of day, because, it takes a lot to walk up to a stranger and start talking about something that's so, considered taboo, or, that private. But yeah, you know what? I'm not the person you want to talk to that to, because I don't have any answers. I haven't figured anything out. I'm just kind of writing about how I feel. And I think those two things get construed a lot, because everyone, I think people go like, oh, he feels just like me. And, I'm not a trained professional. I'm not, yeah. But, that sounds kind of cruel, but I don't mean it to be at all. I just mean that, I don't have any answers, I wouldn't consider me to be the person you should talk to that about. Not because I don't want to talk about it, because you could probably find someone much better,
Well, I think you need to reconsider all that, because you do speak to people in your lyrics, and it does touch a lot of people. And I've definitely seen a lot in the public of your fans commenting about your music and how it emotionally touches them. So it's great.
That's a beautiful thing. I'm very proud of that.
Now, there was a little bit of a rumor going around on TikTok that this could be it. Is it?
It was going to be, yeah. It was in the writing process, in lead up to the record. It was definitely our last hurrah. Lockdown was really hard on us. We couldn't get together. We couldn't release music. We couldn't tour. I couldn't write. I had no inspiration. Everything that I wrote felt like shit. And we were just watching like 10 years of hard work kind of evaporate in front of us, which was really difficult on our mental health, our self-esteem, our confidence, you know, just our will to keep doing music. It was crushing. So we got together and we kind of said, you know, why don't we go out on a high? Like, why do we keep putting ourselves through this shit? Like, it's not giving us any more joy. It doesn't bring us joy anymore. It just brings woe and sadness. And that's not something you want to be connected to. You know what I mean? Like if you're tied to a heavy rock and it's drowning you, you'd cut it off. So that was what we wanted to do. We said, why don't we just go out on top, go out in a good space with our dignity intact. And that was the plan. And then, we kind of marinated on that for a little while. And I decided that, that the people with trophy eyes tattoos and the people that care and the people that we mean something to, they deserve more than see ya and thanks, and a little fucking notes app goodbye. Like, that's not fair, And then I thought as well for us, like, if I never get to write another record again, I'm just throwing away the opportunity to do that now. So we got together and we wrote the record, and in Thailand, the magic started flowing, and we kind of managed our expectations and came back down to earth with like what it is that Trophy Eyes gives us. And, really took away our focus on what is transactional about Trophy Eyes and what is kind of, fulfilling spiritually, which, I'm, for lack of a better word, emotionally. So yeah, and I guess writing together and being together as a group again and making cool music and doing something that we're so proud of, we were like, fuck it, like, let's try one more time. And let's stick it out. Let's write some more and let's. And so the idea that it's our last one, it's definitely our last one now. I'm not sure how many more we'll do, but it's I think the end of Trophy Eyes is a little ways away.
Well, honestly, I think this is the best album yet. I've listened to the whole thing through and through like 10 times over.
Thank you.
So good. My Inheritance is definitely my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could change anything about the music industry, what would it be?
Oh, that's a loaded question. You know what I would change? I'd change two things. I would change the way that people in rock bands now and artists how their art is censored and how you're expected to be a role model or the perfect image of a human being. I think that is delusional. The artists get together and create music because they're fucked up. There's no angel artist out there. Like, look at rock stars in the 80s or the 70s. I think that the idea of a rock star now is perfectly politically correct and in touch with their soul and their feeling. And, this angel of a person, it doesn't exist, and it can't exist. And the more that you stop shitty people from writing music, the less good music is going to be, the less relatable it's going to be, because we're all shitty people. We hold people to such a high standard, but we've all got shitty bits about us, I'm a horrible person. I mean, not horrible, but like, I'm not a great person. And I think the more that you censor art and the more that you censor artists, the less real music is going to be. And we're slowly destroying it. And that's one thing I would change about the music industry is the censorship of art and the freedom to create. And that's not to say that I agree at all with a lot of the art that's out there and a lot of the lyrical content and a lot of people's behavior. Like, I don't agree with a lot of that, but I also, art is art. You can't, once you censor it, then you censor the human experience, and that's a tragedy. And the second thing that I would change is, would be how artists are paid.
Yeah.
I love everybody in every aspect of the industry. I love our manager. I love our booking agents. I love our touring party, our front of house, our TM. They're all good old friends of mine. But everybody now makes so much more money than the band. And it's crazy to think that, like, after lockdown, I'll be real with you, after lockdown, Trophy Eyes ran out of money and we couldn't pay ourselves anymore. So everyone has jobs again, which is fine. It happens. But to go on tour, you pay so much to do everything, and you go home and you pay yourself nothing. I was just on tour for 8 weeks, and I came home and I didn't make $1 personally. Nobody in the band did. So I would change that. I would change that. I would be like, because it's crazy. You write all this stuff and then you're expected to do it for free for your entire life. And I'm a 31-year-old man. I've got rent, I've got a house, I've got
exposure doesn't pay the bills.
That's right. Yeah, it doesn't. And but we pay everybody else's bills, which is ridiculous. So that's one other thing I would change.
Great. I like that answer. And what's next for you after Trophy Eyes, or just in the future in general?
You know what? I got a big thirst for life and adventure. I think, I'd love to travel, maybe write a book. I'd love to write for National Geographic.
What would you write about?
What would I write about? Just like a travel diary, I think, just about places and obscure places, weird things, not like for tourists, but anywhere.
Off the beaten track.
Yeah, absolutely. I just went to a place called Cadillac Lake in Indiana, I think it was, and I met this guy called Bubba, and they were at this tiny bar, and he had a friend called Skinny, and these really like redneck type people, and they're all bikies, and we went out to their house, and they had an incredible array of assault rifles, and like it was just such an insane experience. And like those are people I want to write about. I feel like their stories are unheard or squashed down. You know what I mean? I think the way the world is now, everyone would look at those people as bad people. And I want to write those stories. I want to write I love people. I love their stories. Yeah, so that's probably what I'd write about. Yeah. And or I might do IT. I started university for IT back when I was 18, and I never finished that. So it'd be cool to have a degree, a higher education. But yeah, really all I want to do is explore.
Start a family or anything, or?
I'm getting to that age. Yeah, I'm getting to that age, but that's another deep question. Like, I'm not sure if I ever want to have kids. There's a lot wrong with me. I'm not sure I want to pass that on. And also in a selfish sense as well. Like, once you have kids, I feel like unless you're rich, that's kind of that would I'd have to change my life, and I don't want to change my life at the moment. So, yeah.
I get that. I got my gremlin out in the other room.
I mean, I've heard it's the most incredible experience you can have in life. So I'm sure at some stage I want to do that, but right now I like where I'm at.
Definitely. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Well, it's lovely talking to you. And if you ever come to Newcastle, you got to hit me up. I'll be a photographer. Okay, no worries. We'll do. And I look forward to reading your stories if you ever write a book.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.